right, good morning, everyone, and welcome. I hope everybody's having a great Saturday morning. You are in the presentation for collaborating with your students using Portfolios and EquatIO in math. If you were looking for something else, you are in the wrong place and you may need to go find it. We do not have a moderator for today's session, so if at any point you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will try and get to them as soon as possible. So today you have two of us. My name is Erica Mark. I am an assistive technology consultant with the York Region District School Board. And in your copy of the presentation, you have my email address there. And with me today is Marcel Tabacco. He is a secondary mathematics consultant, also with the York Region District School Board. Marcel, would you like to say hello?
Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome.
All right, so let's dive right in and get started. Oops, hold on. Too many screens. There we go. Marcel, okay. It's all you.
So our session this morning will talk about collaborating with your students using Portfolios and EquatIO in math, and talking about how important feedback is in this cycle. So one of the things that we want to briefly do is just introduce Portfolios if they're new to you, or to give you some other thoughts to consider as you have started your portfolio journey, and some things that would help you make them more meaningful to both you as the teacher and to the students as well. First of all, I'd like to point out that this work can be found in Collecting Evidence and Portfolios, written by Sandra Herbst. You can see the link to the book in the bottom corner. She goes in greater detail than what we will do this morning. But certainly, from a teacher's perspective, they serve as an opportunity to be in conversation with students about learning. Students will collect evidence, will share it with the teacher. Teacher can provide feedback on it. Student can take that feedback, do some work with it, and the cycle can continue as that learning progresses. Students have opportunity then, when they're looking at this portfolio, to determine what they know and what they don't know, and based on that feedback then can fill in any gaps that are going on. Keeping in mind that every time we look at the curriculum document, the first line that we see says, by the end of the course, students will. So it's important to note that it's not on November the 21st that students need to know all of the details about a particular expectation. It's by the end of the course. And so the question is, what feedback opportunities and what opportunities for resubmission are we providing for our students so that by the end of the course, they can show what they know. So using a portfolio allows us to carry on this conversation. It allows students to be active agents in the idea of assessment as learning. And this conversation then can carry on throughout the semester. Next slide, please. One of the things about portfolios is that we need to collect evidence, and I would encourage you that as you're considering portfolios, that evidence collecting should be an ongoing process. It should not be something that's done right at the end of the course. And the reason for that is we want to be able to provide meaningful, actionable feedback. And if it's done as a flurry at the end of the course, then we don't have that opportunity for the feedback loop. So it's important that having regularly scheduled reflection times allows for this tool, this strategy, to become most effective in promoting student learning and helping them achieve the expectations by the end of the course. Next slide, please, Erica. How to create evidence of learning portfolios with students. So we need some kind of tool or platform to collect the evidence in, and it doesn't necessarily matter which one you use as long as you and your students are comfortable with it. We have some templates that are created in Google Slides. We have the same templates created in EquatIO, MathSpace. Both are accessible to you. If you wish to put them in Google Docs or in something else, feel free to do that. Customize, create, make it your own. Make it meaningful for you and your students. The important point, though, is when we're looking at them, that we hope to collect evidence of products, but we also have opportunity to collect evidence of things you have observed. Perhaps if you are face-to-face, things that you have seen students work in the classroom or on Jamboards perhaps, or using Whiteboard FI or other online tools, but also provides evidence of conversations, because the feedback loop that we're going to look at today really is a conversation with the student about what they're learning and what they can do and what they need to improve on. Next slide, please, Erica. So the triangulation of data is extremely important. When we look through the curriculum documents and we look at the specific expectations, you will see that the expectations start with verbs, and these verbs could be categorized in such a way that you would see conversation, observation, and product jump out at you. One of the challenges is to find meaningful ways in which we can do triangulation, and certainly a portfolio would be one that allows for this collection of data in a meaningful way. Key details to include in a portfolio template. We want to make sure that we are linked to curriculum expectations. Don't just gather evidence without linking it. The failure to link it to expectations would lead to a situation where you have many pictures or many files, and we don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to categorize it or sort it. And so linking it to the expectations is is essential. And in fact, linking them to I can statements is even more meaningful, as the student would be able to look at it and say, yes, I can do this, or yes, I can sort of do this, or perhaps I don't know how to do this and I need to do some more work on that. The I can statements are created for you for all of the grades. For elementary, for the new curriculum, they've been updated, and for secondary, they exist, and we'll talk later about where you can find them. So link it to curriculum. The second point is, what is the piece of evidence? It could be a picture, could be a screenshot, could be a video, could be a recorded conversation, could be an online tool demonstration that's recorded in some way. So whatever that evidence is, in an online setting, we can access all of those and place them into our portfolio. An explanation of why evidence was chosen. Students need to reflect on their work. And any prompts that we can give to the students are going to help make the evidence that they collect more meaningful. So some of the prompts that we have on the templates that are provided would be something like this. I used to think, but now I think. So a student might give an example of a misunderstanding that they had, but then could go back, based on the feedback you have provided, they could go back and show what they now think. Trash it might be something that's like, yeah, that was wrong. This is why it's wrong. Let's just disregard that. Another one, this is my best thinking. This gives students opportunity to show pride in their work. And anecdotal notes could be something that's recorded on Screencastify. So students are talking, they're building a note, and they're talking their way through a particular problem. And the most important point out of all of this is opportunity for feedback and time for students to respond, and respond by either updating their work or giving a new example or new evidence that shows their current thinking. Next slide, please. So the I can statements that I mentioned earlier can be found on the Building Thinking Classroom site of the BWW. So to follow that link, it will take you to the Thinking Classroom site, and grade course materials. And if you scroll down just a little bit, there's a video on how to use I can statements, as well as if we keep scrolling down, we'll find examples from grade 1 all the way up to grade 12 in the various courses in between of all of these I can statements built for you. So again, the purpose of an I can statement is we want students to know what they know and know what they need to be able to know and do by the end of the grade or the course. And so this is a list of them. So notice also when you open it up that when the expectations are broken up, it creates a very large document. So pick and choose the ones that you need to use to explore in your portfolio or in whatever activities you're doing, and recombine some back together if that makes it more meaningful to you and the work that you're doing with your students at this time. And the next slide, thank you.
Oh, sorry. You want this one?
Yeah, that one's good.
Okay.
Yeah. And so here's an example of what they could look like, and you could put them into a tracking form of some kind just to highlight perhaps when you've covered them, what the students did, any little jot notes you might want to make of conversations. Another tracking form and a template that is also presented on the Building Thinking Classroom site is this one here, an evidence of learning template that separates questions or proficiency by level of beginning, developing, refining, or mastery. And this slide and the next slide actually introduce a large conversation about, well, how do I track this information? How do I make it meaningful? What do I do with it? Can I calculate a grade? If that is something that you would like to discuss further, I would offer at this time, please reach out to me. And I am more than happy to have a conversation about how to assess a portfolio, how to assess all of the evidence, in fact, that is collected, because this template I wouldn't use only for portfolios. I would use it for everything that is being collected in class. You'll notice that I'm just recording with a series of symbols, X's, check marks, dots, and but by the end of this session, whether it's a reporting cycle or the end of the course, you'll notice that in the bottom right-hand corner, I'm still able to generate a mark, and it still comes out as we would expect to see a mark. And anything can be achieved in those ranges of marks, anywhere from 74, as we have seen here, or all the way up to 100, or all the way down to wherever that could end up being. So again, that's another conversation. We'll leave that for another day. And at this point, I'll turn it back. Oh, sorry, one more slide. A resource. We have to teach the students how to collect evidence in a meaningful way. And what does good evidence look like? How do we recognize a piece of evidence that we want to include, or a piece of evidence that perhaps shows part of what we want but isn't as robust as it could be? So the ministry has produced a resource, how to help build capacity in students. And really the capacity here is that we want to build is for students to be active agents in assessment as learning. And so if you follow through this monograph, it speaks about many strategies that students can have to be that active agent, that active participate in the learning process. And specifically, this resource also talks about portfolios. There's a great step-by-step process in the document, along with a continuum at the end, so that educators and students can determine their own entry points in building. It speaks about interviews and conversations, and there are all kinds of resources here, but as you can see on the page that Erica has up there, it talks about portfolios specifically as well. So lots of help there in assessing portfolios, ideas around how to have conversations with portfolios, how to take all of this information and turn it into a grade. All of these things are available to you. And again, if you have questions, please, by all means, we can discuss this at another time. So Erica, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, so we're going to be using EquatIO today to show our math learning and understanding. And EquatIO is a tool that's put out by TextHelp, the same company that produces Read and Write for Google. So if you want information, or really you want to review anything that we're going to do today, we have a site. It's bit.ly/YRDSB EquatIO. And inside this site is everything that you could ever possibly want to know about EquatIO, including the tools. Now, we don't have time today to go through all of the tools, so I encourage you on your own free time to take some time to go through here. They're organized by tools. There's also a page on tips and tricks. If you go into any particular tool and click on it, It will open up. It's going to give you connections to the York Region Waterfall, UDL, which is Universal Design for Learning. There's a video on how to use the tool, and then there's opportunities to try out the tool if you want. So at any point, if I've gone too fast or you don't feel comfortable asking any questions, please come to this resource. We have tons and tons and tons of things in here that are available for you to use. So we are going to start today by just doing a quick introduction to some of these tools. And I'm going to actually do this in the standalone math space. So there's two ways to access EquatIO. You can do it using the extension, and that is for when you're inside of a Google Doc sheet, slide, form, anything like that. So if you want to use it within those programs, you would use the extension. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here. I'm going to open a new tab. I'm going to go equatio.texthelp.com, and that's going to open up to the external math space. Now, if this is your first time going in here, you will have to log in. So you want to make sure you connect with your GAPS account, because this is a tool paid for by the school board. The benefit of using this space versus using EquatIO inside of slides or docs or anything like that is that it can work across devices. So you can use it on tablets, you can use it on a phone, you can use it on a laptop, on a Chromebook, it does not matter. Whereas when you use the extension, which is up here inside of a Google app, you need to actually be on a laptop or a Chromebook. So it won't work on a tablet or a phone. So all I'm going to do is on the first page here, I'm going to go here and I'm going to open up a new space. I'm going to give it a second to think. And the first thing you're going to notice is I have a green background. That is just a preference. So the first thing I will do is I will come over here to this blue EquatIO button. I'm going to press this button and I'm going to come up here to options. All right. So if I go into options, you will notice here, this is where it can change things. So I have set the color here to green just for later when we do our demonstration. So you can differentiate between the teacher and the student. But in theory, your student can pick whatever color they want. And when they do that, you will not see their work in that color. That color is only for them. The other thing you can do is you can choose between blank and squared paper. So if you wanted a grid behind it. We're not going to worry too much about printing because we're not really printing this. Toolbar options is if you want to turn particular tools off. And TextHelp does have the ability to, when you use this for assessment, if you wanted to turn certain tools off. But that is a completely other thing. And if you want to learn more about that, please connect with me. And then math options. And this is quite important. So you'll notice there's a few things in here. The first one is the math font size. Now the default is regular, but you do have the ability to change it. So if you have students with visual impairments, they can use extra large or extra large. As a teacher, I tend to use these two when I'm presenting so that it's quite clear for my students to use. The other benefit is if you are in a Google Doc or apps, when you go and insert this into a doc and you try and enlarge it, because of the type of file, image that it makes, it can end up blurry. So if you start off with something that's already extra large, it's easier to shrink it than it is to grow it. So we're going to stick with regular for now. And then you will notice 3 buttons here for predictions. So typically, most people would have math and formulas turned on. Chemistry you can turn on if you're teaching high school chemistry, but if you're doing anything other than that, you probably don't need this button on. And then the last thing we're going to do is we're going to hit save. So what I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do something around the area of a triangle. So I will start with shapes. So on my toolbar, I'm going to come down here to this hexagon. And when I press on this hexagon, I'm going to see a series of shapes. Now, if the shape that I'm looking for is not here, I'm going to press on these 3 dots, and I can either scroll through here and find what I need, or I can simply come up here and start typing the word, and it will pull it up. So I'm going to choose an isosceles triangle. You'll notice my cursor changes to a plus sign. I'm going to click and hold and drag down, and I get a triangle. I'm going to quickly go in here, and I'm going to insert a line to represent my height. All right. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to my select tool. So I'm back with my cursor. I'm going to press on this. And you'll notice that when I press on this, I get this sidebar. Now I've actually selected the triangle here. I want this line. So let me just click on this again. Let me see if I can get this. There we go. I've got my line. I want to make this a dash line, so I'm going to come down here to the bottom and I'm going to change that to a dash. So it's clear that it's not two separate triangles. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and label it. So I'm going to use the freehand drawing for today. To be honest, freehand drawing works best if you are using a touch screen. I do not have a touch screen, so you're just going to have to bear with me. Oh, and I've got my dotted line, so we're going to make sure that we fix that. We put that back to a straight line. And maybe I want to thin that out just a little, so we'll make that a 3. Then I'll come back in here, and I'm going to do meters. Bear with me. And then I will make this one 3 meters down here. Yes, awesome. Now I could go in and put this text in, obviously. So the question is, how do I put text in? Well, you would use the equation editor, which is over here, which is the sigma or the fancy E is what I tell the students. So when I click on that, I could go in and just type in 3M and it would insert that. So I'm going to insert here. And what it will do is I could then take that and drag it to where I needed it to be. What I want to show you, though, however, is, so we're doing area. Let's say I'm working with younger kids. They don't remember the formula for an area. You've given them a piece of paper. It's posted in the room. They don't know what they're looking for. So you can start typing in the word area, because remember, we turned that prediction on. And I can type in area, and then I can actually see, oh, I'm looking for the area of a triangle. So I can click on that, and it pulls the formula in for me. Now I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. So to do that, I'm going to come up here to the top of this toolbar and you'll see these 3 dots. I can drag this up and I'm going to go back to this line. And what I want to do is to prevent miscopying anything. On my keyboard, I'm going to hold the Shift and the Control button down and then press Enter. And that's going to copy the whole line down. And now I can go in and I can replace those. And let's say I've already forgotten what those numbers are. So I can come back down here to my equation editor button, just press it. It hides it. Nothing is lost. So now I can check that this is 3 by 5 meters. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to replace this with a 3. And I'm going to replace this with a 5. So now I have to do my calculation. So I need a calculator. So over here on the far right is this little beaker, which is the STEM tools. When I click on that, in the middle, you're going to see there's a calculator. I'm going to pull that up. It's a nice scientific calculator. And why I really like it is because I can go 1 divided by 2, and you'll notice it puts it in as that fraction. So it looks exactly the same as what the student is seeing on their screen. I'm going to use the over arrow key on my keyboard to line this up. And I'm going to go times, oops, actually, I'm just going to use the times button here, times 3 times 5. Okay, and I can hit enter if I want here, and it's giving me my answer. So EquatIO does not solve the problem for the student. The student is still required to do the math themselves, which is really good. There are lots of tools out there that you can plug stuff in and it will solve it, but that's not the student actually showing their thinking. So the last thing I need to do is I need to come in here and put units. So I'm going to come in here and put meters, and then I need to do squares. And I don't remember how to do square on my computer. I've never been taught that. So all I have to do is start typing in square, and square shows up. And I click on the little square, and there we go. And now what I'm going to do, you'll notice my insert math button has changed to a replace math. What that means is because this is highlighted in blue, if I press replace math, it's going to actually replace that. So if I don't want that, I'm just going to click anywhere else on the page. You'll notice that this changed to insert math. I'm going to insert it, and there's my math. And I can drag it in, and I can enlarge it. And there is actually a speech button here. I'm not going to press it right now because you're not going to hear the sound, but it will actually read this out for the student in appropriate math language. The last thing I want to show you here is let's say you want to give this to your students, maybe as a review, maybe you're going to create a question in here like we're going to show you with the portfolio. So up here at the top, there is a blue button. This is a typical share button. When you press on this button, you're going to see this pop up. Now, if I don't expect anything from my students, I can make a copy for each person. If I want them to respond to that, which is what we're going to be doing with portfolios, I'm going to make a copy for each person and expect a response. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to press continue. And I have a link here. Now, depending on how you do this with your students, you can copy this link and place it somewhere. Or if you use Google Classroom, you can press on the Classroom button. And what it's going to do is it has that integration with Classroom. It's going to come over here. And just like with other things, you're going to choose your classroom. You're going to choose your action. You're going to press go. It allows you to create it. You have to give it a title, of course, and then you can assign it. And so now this will end up back in your classroom. If you want, you can view it at that point, or you can just go back and do other things. Okay, so that is a brief introduction to EquatIO. Marcel.
Thank you, Erica. Certainly just a reminder, I've posted the bit.ly for that EquatIO site in the chat in case you didn't get that. There are many more features of EquatIO. Erica has kindly built a site, created many videos and activities that can be found on this site to help you see how to use EquatIO, but also to see where you can use EquatIO in your class and the benefits for students, particularly those who need the read and write function, who need the information read to them, or changing the font size and so on. So there are many tools there that are helpful to all of our students, but in particular those who have special needs of some kind. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at a particular example of where we could use EquatIO. We're going to explore some features that would come out in this example, so using graphing tools, using table tools, and others. But we're also going to highlight what the feedback loop could look like between student and teacher, just to give an idea of the running conversation that can happen and to see the progress in student learning over time, which is really the goal out of all of this. This also allows for the student then to be that active agent in their own learning assessment as learning comes alive to them, because they would develop an idea of what they know, what they can do, and what they need to work. So we've chosen a topic, transformations of functions, that covers a span of material really from grade 10 to grade 12. But again, it's the features that we're most interested in, and that feedback loop between student and teacher. So we'll begin by looking at the student prompt of using Desmos and equation of the parabola y equals x squared, explain the transformation y equals f of x plus d plus c as d and c are varied. So that's the instruction that we would give to the student. And I'll turn it back over to Erica.
Yeah, so we've included a copy of this in the presentation. If you want to follow along, you're welcome to do so. You're not really going to be able to see that teacher-student function because you don't have a teacher-student person to work with here. But if you want to just kind of have a copy of it, you're welcome to do so. And we are using a high school example, but you can certainly do this with really any grade at all, right? You just have to kind of tailor it to your students. So this is the portfolio that Marcel has created for me. And the first thing you're going to notice here is that there's these little lock signs. So what that means is that Marcel has locked certain parts of this so that I can't move it. So if you have a student that's constantly moving things that they shouldn't be moving or erasing things, you can lock things in place so they don't do that. And what I'm going to do is where it says insert name here, I'm just going to double click on that. And I'm going to go in here and I'm just going to type my name. So I'll erase this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use that replace math function here. Oh, and because my font size is a little small, I'll just go in and quickly fix that. Actually, I'm going to leave it small for now. I can just actually drag that out, make it bigger. All right. So on my second page here, I see my prompts. So Marcel has been great. He's put in those prompts to remind me what I need to do. And I'm going to go to my first piece of work. So again, here's that question that Marcel asked me to do. So what I'm going to do to start is I'm going to create a graph. So for me to create a graph, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to go to the graph editor. Now, TextHelp has worked with to integrate Desmos directly into its program. So it's not a separate graphing program. It works exactly like you would in Desmos. So if you've used it before, this will look familiar. If not, you can simply start typing in what you're looking for. And I'm going to go plus C. Oh, wait, I actually need, hold on. F of x is equal to, we're going to go x squared. So we'll do squared there. There we go. And we'll just backspace to get rid of that. So there's my first graph. And what I'm going to do is actually, to save some time, I'm going to come up here to the gear and I'm going to copy that down. We'll get rid of that. We'll press done. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put a 2 in front of this, right? Maybe I want to change the color of this so that it is a different color. So one thing with Desmos is if you just click on it once, it disappears the graph. So I'm going to click and hold on it. Actually, let me just turn it back on first. Click and hold on it, and then I can go in and change the style of the line. So I'm going to make this one red. I'm going to copy this actually a few times. Okay, we're going to do that. And this time I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make this 1/2. Right, and we'll change the color of this so that it's clear what this is. And now I'm going to take this one and I'm going to go +2. Actually, let's go +3. And we'll change the color of this one. There we go. And actually, let's copy that last one down, save myself some time here. And we're going to make this one -3. All right, and we'll change the color of this one. We'll make this one purple. So now I've got a series of graphs here. If I wanted to alter the way this looks, I can either use just my mouse and drag things out, or I can use my minus sign and so on and so forth to do this. So I actually feel like I've missed something here. So hold on a second. I'm going to go. Oh, I know what I missed. I missed one. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to go 2x plus 3 and then squared. Where'd that go? There we go. And I'll copy that one down. And in this time, I'll just press done, and I'm going to make this one -3. There we go. And I don't know if I have any more colors. I don't, so I'm just going to leave that one black. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here and I'm going to insert my graph. And I can insert it in here. And I can resize it as need be. So now I need to go in here and I actually need to talk about what I've done. Okay, so I'm going to come to my equation editor and I'm going to need to put in some text. So there are 2 ways to put in text. The first way is to use this button here. That will give you, and it's a little bit hard to see on my screen, but it gives you an indentation here. And when you put text in this indentation, it comes up as text. And the reason you want to actually do this is because if you don't put this in here as text and you start typing text out here, so I'm just going to use this as an example, and I type in using, you'll notice it's going to start doing some of that prediction piece for you. So you want to try and avoid that, and you want to try and work within that text box. So to be vertical shift of C units up. And I'm just going to hold Shift Control Enter to copy that down so I don't have to keep rewriting it, right? So a great way to save time. And we're just going to change this to down. And then I'm going to go over here and I'll do that again. And this time I'm going to say over here plus D. Oops, that's not plus D. And this is going to be a horizontal shift of D units. And we are going to go to the left for this when it's positive, and we will copy this line down. And we're going to do a minus here. And we're going to say this horizontal shift to the right. Okay, and I can now insert that. Now, if for some reason it's not the right size, again, I can drag it out. And there we go. I've got my information in here. So now what I'm going to do is, as the student, I'm going to send this back to Marcel. So to do that, before, when we looked at it, when we were in that individual document, we saw the share button. But when we're in here as a student in an assignment, okay, we're going to see this little airplane, and that's the submit button. So when I press that, it's going to give me a little notification to let me know that it has been shared. So what I'm going to have Marcel do is I'm going to have Marcel present over top of me. So now you can see what Marcel has received.
Okay, so I'm just switching. Erica, have you given me permission?
You should be able to just present over top.
No,
is it not working?
Let me just try that again. Maybe I didn't. Okay, no, it's working.
Okay, hold on.
I'm not sure why it didn't, but
okay,
it should be coming.
no worries.
So I'm back in the teacher dashboard of Math Spaces right now, and I'm assuming that you can see a tab called, I have 4 tabs on the left: Spaces, Assignments, Submitted Assignments, and Archived. And you can see that in my Spaces, I have a response recorded. If I click on this, this would be my list of recent assignments that we have done. And this number 1 up here tells me that I have a response that I can have a look at. So I'm just going to click on that, and I will see what Erica has done. Now, in this space here, I would see all of the students who have responded. So since my class right now exists of just 1 student, the lovely Erica Mark, I would only have her material here. So I'm going to click on that so I can open it up. And I can now see the updated version. You'll notice that her name appears on this page. And if I scroll down to the 3rd page, you can see that here is the work that she has completed. So as a teacher, now I want to look at this, and I want to be able to give some feedback to my students. So you'll notice on the right-hand side, I now have a feedback menu bar in which I can enter some feedback. Notice also that there is a character limit. So I have 1,000 characters that I can fill. I can use this loop to enter comments. But one of the things that Eric and I have found out is that if I'm going to do multiple feedback responses to the students, they would continually add the comments together in this one box. So perhaps a better way to insert feedback would be to create a text box and then enter in a comment that you may have. Now I have a pre-made comment, so I don't have to retype this right now, and you can watch my horrible typing skills, but I will insert the notes up here, and they should have appeared. And again, I can change the size of this box to make it smaller, to make it fit. So I would leave the teacher feedback there. I could change the color on it if I wished through the editing of this box. But again, for the sake of time, I'm going to leave that. But so just an idea, again, just a reminder, I could use the feedback box that's on the right-hand side, but if I'm going to give more feedback later on in response to what the student presents, it will be a cumulative, one big cumulative comment in that right side. So it may be better to put feedback on particular pages. Okay, and then I can send feedback to the student. So Erica, have I covered everything?
Yep, you're good.
All right, so I'm going to hit send feedback now. And woohoo, I've responded to all of the student assignments. And so I will stop sharing and turn it back over to Erica.
Okay, so now as a student, if this was in my classroom, I could just click back on that link within my classroom, or I can come to the EquatIO dashboard, which is the main page, and I could go to underneath here on the sidebar, submitted assignments, and there I'm actually going to see the work that I have done and the response to it. So we're going to give that a second to open. All right, and if I come down here to my page. So there's two things that I'm going to see here now. So now I see this sidebar where it's feedback. There's nothing in there, so I'm going to just hide that. And here I see this text. And what I can do is, if needed, I could drag it out. But now you'll notice that this is all grayed out. So it's grayed out because I'm in feedback view. So if I needed to actually do anything from this step forward, what I would do is I would turn this feedback view off. And this is done specifically to hide the feedback. So the student can't go in and erase it and then say, no, you never commented on my work. I did it, whatever, right? So the feedback is always going to be there. You just have to turn it on and off. Oh, you can't see. All right, just give me 1 second here. It says it's still visible. Let's try that. Resume presenting. All right, how about now? Are we good?
Yeah, we can see it now. Thank you.
All right, no problem. So let me just rephrase that. So you can either go in through the classroom or you go to your dashboard, and you'll see here it says Spaces Assignments. Assignments are things that you have created as a teacher. As a student, what I would be looking under is Submit Assignments. And I can click on this link, and it's going to open up the work that I've done. So now I can go in here and I can see my teacher's comment, but I can't actually do anything on the page. And you'll notice here at the bottom that this is grayed out. And that's because I'm in feedback view. So if I want to work on this, I have to turn the feedback view off. And again, as I said before, this is so that the feedback always stays there and they can't erase the feedback. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that comment that Marcel gave me. I'm going to go onto a new page. And what I'm going to do is, for the sake of time, I'm just going to take what it was. And I've already got it over here. So I'm just going to take it and I'm going to paste it on this page. Let's see. There we go. There it is there. So I've already got it in here. So this was his comment. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with creating a table. So I'm going to quickly come down here to my equation editor, and I'm going to start with a table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click here, and I'm going to start with an X, and then I'm going to start with enter. And actually, I'll make this a little bit bigger. And when I hit enter, you're going to see that there's a gray box that appears. And up here at the top, you're going to notice there's a few extra buttons. So I need to add some columns. So I'm going to click to the one with like basically some columns. I'm going to click on it, and you'll notice that I can start to add as many columns as I want. And then what I can do is I can come and type in here y equals f of x, and I can do y equals f of x minus 1, right? And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put my data 3, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And I'll come in here and I'll put 9, 4, 1, 0, 1, 4, 9. And then I'm going to go 16, 9, 4, 1, 0, 1. Oops, let's fix that. Enter 1. Oh, undo that. Let's just delete this line. There we go. 1, 4. Okay. Now what I want to do is, so it's kind of lined up really funny. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here now. I'm going to select the table. Do that one more time. And over here, we have alignment buttons. So depending on your preference, I'm going to align it center. I always prefer aligning center. And I'm going to come in here. I want to make sure I'm clicked off of this blue box because I don't want to replace the question. And I'm going to press Insert Math. And so that's going to put in my table there. Now, some people are totally fine with having a table without lines. Some people are not okay with a table without lines. So I'm going to show you a quick way of doing this. Now, if all of my columns were the same size, it would be a little bit easier, but we can still make this work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here to the hexagon with the light bulb in it. This is called Smart Shapes. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to go to Grid. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag out a grid. So a standard grid is created that's 4 by 4. Now I've hidden my sidebar here, so I'm just going to press on this arrow to bring it back. And you'll notice that when I've created this grid, I can actually change how many columns and rows there is. So I'm going to start with 1 column, and I'm going to add, oops, no, I need to go the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. And I'm going to just take this and drag it over here and kind of resize it to where I think that's going to be. Now, this is not very useful because, of course, it's filled in. So I'm going to come up here to the top, and you'll see a little paint bucket. So this is change fill color. This is border color. We're going to go to fill color. And here I'm just going to take the transparency, and I'm going to drag the transparency down. And now it's see-through. And what I can do is I can just adjust this to how I want it to look. Okay, and then I can either use the copy button up here, or I can use Control-C on my keyboard. I can copy and paste that. And what I will do is I will just take that and drag it out so it's the right size. And do that one more time. And drag it out. Now, if these columns were all the same size, I would have just created a 3 by 8 grid and just resized it. But because they're different, the grid piece doesn't exactly work for that. So it's kind of a way around it. Now, the other thing I can do is I can actually come in here if I wanted to, and I can click on all of these, and I could group them together if I wanted. So now if I need to move the grid for whatever reason, I can do that. And of course, now I'm going to come in and I'm going to put in some text. So I'm just going to take that over here and I'm going to copy and paste that in. And I'll just put it down here so Marcel can see it. And I'm going to send it back to Marcel. All right, so Marcel can go in and put in some feedback now on this.
Okay, so hopefully my screen is coming up. What you will see on my screen now, there are 2 things I'd like you to notice. One is I have this green check mark, which means that Erica has submitted a comment or submitted an assignment to me, and I have given some feedback based on that. The blue tells me that she has now responded to that feedback, and so now I can go back in and have a look and see what Erica has done in the meantime. So again, I can open it up. I can see the work as long as it decides to open up. There we go. So I can see the work that has been done. I can see on this slide, page 3, this is what we did before. There's the comment from before. Now I can go to the new page, page 4, and I can see what has happened here. And so I can look at it and I can provide feedback and I can say, well done. I can say, here are some things that you might want to consider. Here are some things to move on. And so I can provide feedback once again and type in a text box as before. And I can insert this with a further instruction. And then I can drag the feedback down and adjust it. And let me squish it together this time so it fits a little bit better on the page. And once I have that feedback there, again, as before, I can close this window and I can send feedback, and then Erica will have the next steps to go on. And again, notice the progression in the work. So she has she solved it by graphing. Based on the feedback, she came back with a table of values. And based on this, now I'm offering a further prompt to carry on into another idea, because she has gotten this idea. So let's carry on the conversation and keep teaching and keep exploring. So I can send feedback back to Erica and I will stop presenting. And my question for Erica is, let's explore something else about graphing. So back to you, Erica.
All right. Let me just make sure that I'm actually presenting here, because it does not look like it. Resume presentation. There we go. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to refresh this page so I can get that feedback. So again, it opens up automatically into that feedback view. So I'm just going to turn that off, and I can go down here and I can see Marcel's comment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new page now. So to add a new page, I come up here to the top and I press on this plus button. So it's going to give me multiple pages. I think you have a limit of about 100 pages. So it works very similar to slides in that sense. And to save some time, I'm just going to copy over from an example. Oops, let me hold on one second. I missed the background here. Let's make sure I've got all of that. Oh, I know why. There we go. Let's try this. All right, it is doing some thinking. Let's try this. There we go. Okay, so that's working. So let's take the rest of this. There we go. Oh, well, let me drag this. Isn't that funny? Okay, so typically, I don't know what it's doing there on the side. Typically, what it would do is it would give the student could be able to recreate this. So I would have a blank page that I would ask them to recreate. So I'm just going to go in and put my work in here. And we're going to just move on for the sake of saving some time. So I'm going to put the question and my prompt. Do this. This is my best work. We're going to delete this. Oh, goodness gracious me. All right, let's do this one more time. This is the thing. Sometimes with saving time, you're not really saving time. There we go. And here. Okay, so this is the work that I'm most proud of. I've inserted my graph. If I need to edit my graph or any of my math at any point in time, you can just click on it and you will notice that it says edit graph, or it will say edit math. So if I needed to go in here and change this to, let's say I wanted to change the x-axis away from pi to degrees or numbers, I could actually go in here and do that edit. And I'm actually just going to stop it for the sake of time. And I can go in and then paste in text. Marcel, we have about 5 minutes left. So I'm wondering if we want to just move forward. I think maybe they've seen enough of the demo. What do you think?
Sure, let's move on with the rest of the slides.
Okay.
And that will
so
leave
again, you can continue on and on with this. There's lots of tools and things that you can do, and you can continue that feedback loop as long as you want to with your students. And the benefit of this is that once you've created kind of that master assignment, depending on your student, it can go many different ways. So not every student is going to have the same portfolio. Okay. So actually, there's one last thing I would like you to show Marcel in here. Can you go back to presenting over top of me, please? Because I think this is super important.
Okay. Okay, it should be coming up now. Where would you like me to go, Erica?
So can you just close, actually just go back into the assignment where you're giving feedback. Yeah, and can you just hide your sidebar or move your sidebar for me? Yeah. So up there at the top, actually open that up again. Yeah, perfect. So up there at the top, you'll notice it says something. I can't read it because my screen here is so small. It says response 1 of 1. So obviously there's only me inside of Marcel's classroom right now. But if you had 30 kids, what you can actually do is use those arrows to the next of where it says response 1 of 1 to flip through the students and see their work. So you're not constantly having to go back to the dashboard to actually see it. The one thing that you do need to remember is if you are giving any feedback in that feedback box in this particular sidebar, that you make sure that you send that feedback first before you flip to the next student. It does not save that automatically. Okay, that's the one piece I wanted to show there. Thank you, Marcel. We'll go back to the presentation. And I shall resume. Wonderful. Hopefully you guys can see the screen. So where are we at? Marcel, this is yours.
So just a key idea to remember, if we're using a portfolio, the idea is that it reflects evidence of learning over time, that this is not something that we would have like a single due date for. So for example, that we might tell the students by November 21st, please submit 5 pieces of evidence. The whole goal behind a portfolio is to have that running conversation that you saw Eric and I have as we were working through various examples. Encourage the students to reflect on the mistakes. We know research tells us, so many different researchers have explored this idea. Research tells us that the making of mistakes is an important aspect of learning, the reflecting on them, the feedback given. All of this contributes to a greater learning environment, a more positive learning environment, and we want to have this feedback loop, to have these conversations to build that learning. Students can continue to include documentation until all the learning in the grade is completed. And I would suggest to you that if there is a running theme throughout your course, that students could provide evidence of something in September, but then revisit it in October and revisit it and keep going. And you can keep looking back and forth to see what's going on, provide some feedback, and promote that learning throughout the course. Encourage students to use conversations, observations, as well as products, and ensure that the feedback that's provided is indeed actionable. We want to make sure that students can look at it, know what they can do to improve, have a clear idea of where to go and what might come next as far as challenging their thinking to improve that learning experience. And the next slide just talks about where we can find these master portfolio templates. So again, they're linked in this slide deck. The EquatIO templates that Erica was using are found at the end of this first line following that link. And the Google Slides format can be found following that other link, which is actually listed on the Building Thinking Classroom site as found on the BWW. Please feel free to use these with your students, adjust them, share them, change them, make them better. And if you make them and they're really, really good and you're proud of it, please share it back with us so that we can pass this on to others with whom we would have conversations around portfolios with. So, yeah. Erica, I turn it back to you. Oh, this is me again.
Yep.
All right. So the last site, this links to the Building Thinking Classroom site, and this is what the page would look like on the Thinking Classroom site, where you'll find examples of evidence of learning portfolios and the sample templates as have been linked. If you were to go through the sidebar and navigate that way, you can see the instructions there. And again, if you ever can't find anything or you have questions, you remembered something but don't know where it is, by all means, please send me an email. More than happy to help you navigate this as you explore portfolios and as you explore using EquatIO as a tool to create portfolios.
Yeah, so we just want to say thank you very much for taking your Saturday to come and hang out with us. We hope you found it quite useful. An hour is a really, really short time to do all of this stuff. So as Marcel said, if you have any questions, please reach out to either one of us. I can actually come into your class or come and see you and work with you and support you with it. If you're teaching virtually, I can do Google Meets with you. So there's lots of ways that we can support you. You are certainly not on your own with this. We are asking you to complete the feedback form that's linked here in the presentation. And we just want to say thank you for coming and hanging out with us. And we hope that you found something within this presentation useful for you. If you have any questions, you can stay on. Otherwise, you're welcome to go on with the rest of your day.
Erica, perhaps you may wish to put the link for the presentation back in the chat.
Yes, absolutely. I just need to find it. Let me see. Oh, right here.
So again, as Erica mentioned, we are more than happy to help you any way we can, virtually or face-to-face if that's possible. Hopefully the situations change and soon we'll be back to what we would have considered normal schooling, and that we can do seminars and sessions with you. So please, by all means, reach out as questions come. Again, thank you for spending your time with us, and the link Erica has attached, so please complete that feedback form for us.